My name is Deborah Marcus, and I'm going to take you through a movement sequence today that I call Ready, Set, Blast Off. And it's designed for a client that has kyphosis. She uses a walker. And during this shelter in place time, she expressed an interest in being able to get down to the floor and off of the floor. So this movement sequence is designed to help develop the skills needed to do that. So without further ado, here we go. You'll need a chair with a hard seat, hopefully. If it's not hard, it's okay. A TheraBand, which we're going to preset on the back of the seat part of the chair. And then a ball. This is a Franklin ball. It's sort of squishy. You could use a smaller ball. Probably not a big squishy one. That would be a little too big and squishy. All right, so here we go. We're starting in the chair, and maybe you're sitting here just watching the video. So we're going to come to the front edge of the chair so that the sit bones are still on and the feet are more resting on the ground. They've got a little weight through them. All right, here we go. Take a breath in and bring the shoulders up to your ears. And exhale, let them glide back down as the collarbones widen. And once again, breath in. Inhale, feel the length of the waist from the front, the sides, and the back. And then as you glide the shoulders down, see if you can keep a little of that length through the middle. Once more, breathing in and exhale down. Let's do one more. Inhale and exhale. Keeping that length, we're going to start to slide the hands back and forth along the thighs. They make a nice swish sound. And we're going to allow the shoulders to come into play a little more. So there's a little bit of a rotation. And you can look around your room, around your garden, whatever space you're in. Breathing in for one side, out for the other. And one thing I like to do is always reverse the breath. So if I took a breath in here, I'm going to stay there, exhale, and now I'm going to breathe in going the other way. And it just feels different. Something's different about it. Let's go a little faster, a little smaller, just a little buoyancy there. All right, and then we'll let that fade away. Fingertips to the kind of the front of the shoulder, the front of the arm bone up there, round ball, and elbows going up on the inhale, and those round balls of your shoulder or the upper arm bone are rolling back and then come down. Breathing in, allowing the gates of your scapula to just widen. It's like the gate opens between the shoulder blades as the elbows go up. Good. Breath in and down. And we're going to go into a little circle now. Out and around. Breathing in, out and around. Keeping a little tab on what's going on in the thighs and the hips, trying to keep it relaxed. One more. And down. All right, here's where we're going to take the TheraBand, and I'm going to bring it behind my mid upper back, somewhere around there. And it's nice if it's flat back there, but if it winds up, no problem. So starting with the palms facing up, I'm still trying to keep some of that axial length. I'm just going to pull forward into the band, maybe about halfway. So I still have a little bend of the elbows, inhaling, trying to stretch the TheraBand back there as you inhale without the shoulders lifting. So we inhale and exhale, and then let the elbows come back in. If it's too heavy, just lighten the tension, and we're going to reach a little further forward now, almost straight with those arms. And again, breathing in, expanding through the back and side of the ribs, taking that inhale, trying to Not also lift the shoulders, but keep that wide collarbone feeling. One more breath here. And I include this in this little movement sequence because the feeling of holding yourself up a little bit through your arms or pressing into the floor or pressing into a wall or whatever it is your hands need to press in is not there for everyone. And this gets it ready. Starting to feel that energy through the arms. All right, and we're going to come back down. And last thing, we're going to think about the neck just a little bit more. So we did this little twist. Let's do that again just for a second. And start to let the body part and the hands part go away, but see if you can keep the head part very small. And you can imagine that your chin is gliding back and forth on a velvet shelf. And you really enjoy that velvet shelf. And if you're on your shelf, and it's right here, you can also picture the back of your skull, the bottom of your skull, like it has a big smile, a big grin back there. And you'd like everyone to see it who's behind you. So stay with us just for a moment more and allow the eyes to start to do a little zigzag pattern up in your room or up in your garden. So you're looking a little bit up at the sky and start to zigzag back down. If this makes you dizzy, you can make it smaller and slower. And start to take that zigzag now below the horizon line of your eye. So we're now looking more toward the floor. And then we're going to come back to that velvet shelf and do a few more. Just bringing the head back to center. All right, moving down in the body now, we're going to do a wiggle, just a wiggle. So the ribs are wiggling. I don't like to get technical about here because everyone has their own style of wiggling. You can let your head move, you can let your shoulders move, you can do it faster. Just wiggle. Wiggle your shoulders, wiggle your ribs. And I want you to start to notice, maybe bring it back to a side to side. If there's one side of your sit bones, one side that feels more familiar and one side that maybe feels less familiar. And I want you to stay on the less familiar side just for a moment. And then back to the more familiar, less familiar. And feel a little uplift of the spine, a little shot of energy that comes right up through the top of your head. You can even use your arms to help you. Down to go up on that unfamiliar side. And we'll stay on the familiar side just so it doesn't feel left out. And just experience that. And we're going to come back to center. All right, so we're going to start to bring in the legs now more, and legs and feet into what we're doing. So we're going to take the ball and place it under one of your feet so that the ball is pretty much under the knee. You don't want it way out there, but right under the knee, and just start rolling back and forth, feeling a nice hinge action of the knee, waking up the sole of the foot. And then we're going to come into what I call the wedge. This is the wedge. So the ball of my foot, all 5 of those metatarsal heads are on the ground. My heel is on the ground and my toes are being wedged up just a little bit. If I want a tighter wedge, I can kind of push my foot into the corner there between the floor and the ball. But if the foot is sensitive, just do what you can. And we're just going to take the heel up and down, up and down, up and down. And there's a little hip fold here as well, which is nice to feel. And sometimes I put my foot on a little yoga block to get it up higher, and then I get a little more hip fold. And that's important because sometimes the body will collapse back when the hip has to fold and there's no more fold or there's very little. So we want to get that seated hip. So we're going to go up and down on the wedge, in the wedge, and then start to take the toes and wrap around until you're all the way out and the toes are pointing down toward the ground, reaching for the ground. Then we're going to come back all the way to the wedge and up and down and reach. So I'm just mimicking with my hand what the foot is doing, up and down. Once more, forward and up and down. This time when you press out, reach through the heel. Might need to bring the ball in a little bit. So when you get out there, the heel is reaching and the ball is behind my heel now. It's not on the bottom. And just coming back. So we get a little stretch through the Achilles. And feel like you're pushing through space with the sole of your foot, especially that heel. And one more press. And let's do the other side. So the ball is under the knee. Start with a little hinging movement here. Just feel the weight of your leg. And then we're going to come into that wedge. Metatarsal heads on the floor and just up and down with the heel. I like to include the breath, and I always encourage people to take a look at the feet, see what they're actually doing. And one thing I didn't mention on the first side is that if only the first 3 toes were propped up there with the ball, you might want to bring the ball to the baby toe, the 4th and the 3rd toe, so that you get that part of the foot activated as well. Still feeling all 5 of those metatarsal heads on the ground. And then we'll go from the heel up and down to the roll, reaching through the toes. And then coming back to the wedge, little up and down, and roll, reach. Once more, up and down, roll, and reach. And then the final thing is to start with the ball a little closer in, and we're going to get that calf to stretch a little bit, reaching through the heel, coming back. Always reminding yourself to breathe intentionally. And we'll do one more. All right. So that completes the ready set portion of our class, and now we're going to get into the blast off. So we're going to come to one side, and I'm going to just face front for a moment. So I have one leg back, and I'm situated with my chair distance so that when my knee is below my hip or my ribs, my heel can press back against the wall. And I'm going to just push back with my heel there, just for a moment, to start to feel the posterior lateral hip activating. A little bit of press, 4 little pushes. Slide the leg that's in the front back, so the heel is a little bit behind the knee, toward the chair. And we're going to feel both heels now, just for a moment. So I feel the back heel in the wall and the other heel in the floor. I'm not trying to stand up yet. I'm just waking up muscles that are a little lazy. All right. Now I'm going to start to hinge forward as I do that little press. So I'm creasing at the hips, pressing down, or pressing back and down. And now there's a downward push in the back leg as well. And all of that spine work we did about lifting the chest, we're going to use it here. Chest lifts instead of trying to come up this way. So we can take the arms forward, vertical hinge, and I'll show this from the side a little bit, do a few more. So I'm hinging and down, hinging. Once more, we're going to slow down the descent. Breathe in, up And slow it down on the way down. Up and down one last time, and we're going to stay up. Or if you use a walker and this is very unstable, we'll just come down and go to the other side. So whoever's watching this, you can decide how you want to make that transition. We're going to go to the other side. The knee is kind of hanging down from that hip or from the ribs even. And I'm going to press my heel back. And if I weren't at an angle, my heel would be pressing back into the wall. I'm going to slide that front foot back a little bit toward the chair and feel both heels, both feet. Because at this point, I'm also pressing into the ground. And this is where the blast off comes. A rocket ship goes up because there's force, lots of force going into the earth. So we're creating our little blast off moment, and we're gonna hinge forward. So we go vertical, hinge, press, using a little momentum, keeping that chest up, the gaze forward. You can use your arms if that helps. You can also use that band. If you grab the band and pull forward, that's a nice addition with or without the band. 4 more. Press. And really make sure that front heel, I just had to pull mine in. It was too far out. I couldn't get up as well as I feel now. And that's how we get up to standing. So there's one other element, and that is the arms that I mentioned before. And for that, for this particular client, I'm just going to come to the wall and bring my hands there. Actually, I'd probably come here first, so vertical. And then start to press or take little steps back while you're pushing. And that seems like such a natural thing for so many of us, but for an older adult that's having a problem with that, that is a big deal. So sometimes I just do that and then have her breathe here. And when I want her to take a break, she takes a few steps forward, and we do that again. Push. The whole concept of pushing is what we're going for here. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. Be well, be safe, take care.